Darius is the destroyer of low elo top lane. Our player today is named Zer0, also known as Weeb Killer Darius, a master player on EU West who is playing this low elo dominating champion not only in high elo but also in the jungle. This role has always had a super low pick rate for Darius, but that has not stopped Zer0 creating a new assassin speed build. Darius's usual problems of having no mobility or engage are gone, letting him take full advantage of his ridiculously fast clear speed, which is faster than almost every meta jungler, while also now being a tanky frontline engager that can still kill 5 people in a fight. Forget about having to cheese top lane kills to win games. This pick reliably farms and comes out of the jungle already fed. But first, this video is sponsored by blockchain.com. People often complain that crypto is bad for the environment, but blockchain.com is helping to stop that with a currency that's actually carbon negative, meaning that if you use it, you're helping remove carbon from the atmosphere, so it's good for the environment. The currency is called CEUR, a stable coin that's value is based on the value of the euro, so the risk of having it is the same as having euros in a bank account. But unlike a bank account with their terrible interest rates, blockchain.com offers 14% APR, as well as a bonus when you buy 25 euros worth. So if you're worried about using it because of your environmental impact, then don't be. You can help plant trees just by using this currency. Blockchain.com is the world's most popular way to buy, sell, and trade crypto, with 82 million wallets created in over 200 countries, having lightning fast speed on desktop and mobile, as well as 24/7 live chat to help you whenever you need it. I've personally been using blockchain.com for the past couple months, and I love how easy and simple it is to get started. Click the link in the description to sign up and also get 0 fees on your first trade. Back to our player. His first League of Legends experience was actually on Nintendo DS, playing a game named Final Fantasy Revenant Wings, which he believes may have been one of the inspirations for League. It's a weird coincidence. Released in 2007, it contains a mode where you play 5 vs 5 against AI, using small minion-like creatures and fighting enemies to destroy the enemy crystal while protecting your own. It had AI minions, pickable characters with different skills, and a big crystal for each team to destroy. It definitely sounds like League to me, but he actually only started playing real League in Season 6. He began as a Garen one-trick, being inspired by a Garen montage on YouTube by a player named AM Satellite. Yes, I did say a Garen montage, I didn't know they existed until now. But he was no fool, he didn't want to follow the meta, instead playing Garen with Ghost Heal top lane as his own invention. Immediately he D-ranked to bronze. In Season 7, he realised that Ghost Heal was not the best idea, and anyway, all of his friends were trying to hit gold, so he knew he had to join the race. No more messing around, swapping summoners to flash teleport, and already starting to play Darius, climbing to platinum with it that season. Season 8 he began playing Vladimir top as his secondary, and noticing his love for Noxus, he kept expanding to new champions from the Empire. Unlike Noxus, which is inclusive to all warriors, Zer0 got permabanned for being toxic. Rest in peace to his old account named MLG Garen, onto his new account, Weeb Killer Darius. Hovering around Diamond with Darius top, he struggled to progress any higher. With the buffs in Season 10 to Darius Jungle, he thought it might finally be time to role swap and play something new, but the buffs simply were not enough. He still couldn't compete with meta junglers, so he decided to take a break and try out the new League card game, Legends of Runeterra. But of course, he still played Noxus, actually hitting Master in that game as well with a Noxus deck. It honestly sounds like I'm making this up, but this is what he told me in our interview. I guess this man really just loves his lore. More buffs came for Darius Jungle throughout the season, but still none of them were actually enough. In a shocking turn of events, the geniuses on the Riot Balance team didn't know what to do to make this pick viable. That was until patch 11.20, the final jungle buff to Darius, decreasing the cooldown of Crippling Strike. This is his W, changing to a 5-second cooldown at all ranks. This is a buff that he says doesn't actually help when you play top lane, because if you can use W twice in a fight, then the enemy should already be dead. But it really did help with his jungle clear, finally being able to catch up to the meta junglers. In Season 12, with these buffs, he became a jungle Darius one-trick to see how far he could climb, but he still had 3 big problems to fix. Darius had no burst damage, so his ganks weren't very good. His 1v1 power as a jungler was non-existent, because he just couldn't catch up to people. Unlike in top lane where enemies were forced to be near you, in jungle enemies could just run away. And late game, as a jungler, he was not mobile enough to play properly, because he could only take flash or ghost, not being able to take both, unlike top lane. He tried lots of different solutions to these, taking Predator for ganks, but then he lacked damage. AD as his first item, but he still lacked the mobility, so he was left with just just one option, GALEFORCE, the item that gives him the burst for ganks, gives him the mobility to catch people, and then late game still have the mobility to be useful in fights. It also gives every other item he buys movement speed thanks to its passive, so Darius can use that to catch enemies and get picks. With this new build, in under a month he was able to hit Master, and continues to play there now. But Darius Jungle is nothing like top lane. In fact, our player says that you need to forget everything you have learnt about Darius and start all over again. Beginning at level 1, usually you want to force fights early on and use your huge passive damage to get kills. Darius Jungle is the absolute opposite. Zer0 says that unlike with most jungle champions, the more stuff he does early on, the more he loses games. Starting red buff, his passive damage burns through it. The passive bleed damage is why your clear is so fast. He applies it to every jungle minion to make sure its health starts ticking down. This lets him run away from camps before they die to save time, letting them die to the bleed. Onto Krugs, killing the big one with smite, and using the Q AoE to apply bleed to all the small ones, so he doesn't even have to think about them. Quickly over to Raptors, using his AoE on those, and Wolves to speed through them, doing blue and Gromp at the same time, second smite on Gromp, to finish off his really fast clear. He can now take Crab or look for a really early gank. With a double buff level 4 Darius that is cleared faster than the enemy jungler, he's joint highest level in the game. This is the most terrifying thing for any League player to face up against. And since he's playing jungle, he can get to this point every game with no risk, ready to destroy anyone who dares to 1v1 him. He plays a heavy invading style, especially against the weaker junglers. If Darius can find them, they simply cannot beat him in a fight, because of his high burn damage and healing on Q. Either they run away and give up their camps, or they die. Early ganks after this clear are really good, pathing behind enemies to block off their escape. If the slow on his W or the pull on his E connects, it should always end up being a kill. He can now base to buy Pickaxe, which is specifically bought to make his clear even faster, so he full clears once again, which sets him up to solo Dragon right as it spawns. Once his buffs run out, he kinda sucks at ganking. He's really slow and it's a struggle to set up his CC, so instead of letting this weakness affect him, it's really smart that Darius focuses on the Dragon stacking. With his burn damage, killing it is quick, and he's able to solo any dragon at any point in the game. If enemies try to contest it, they'll likely be trying to 1v1 a Darius, which we all know is exactly how you lose a game. Hitting level 6, his power increases a little bit, but his ganks still really suck at this point. Your aim is to get to GALEFORCE, so he continues to sprint through the jungle, clearing camps as they spawn. He may be weak in one area, but he can out-farm everyone else in the game. When he finally gets GALEFORCE, the champion changes completely, removing the majority of his weaknesses, and also having blue smite to combo with it. GALEFORCE allows him to catch up to any enemy and get an engage off, GALEFORCing then smiting if they're still out of range, to slow them and set up a pull. No one can run away from him with this combo as well as having flash, so you can see why he needs to reach this point as fast as possible. Even having a new combo on Darius, starting his Q and using GALEFORCE during it allows him to slide sideways and get the Q damage off while engaging. It's a bit like an animation cancel to make his damage more efficient, following up with a slow and a full combo to finish off the kill. Now buying boots and winged moonplate, both items that give bonus movement speed, he becomes speedy even without the GALEFORCE. Now that he's strong, he begins to permanently invade the enemy jungle, pressuring them out whenever he sees them, stealing camps and collecting a kill from anyone who dares to 1v1 him. This is your big power spike, having the mobility to make plays and force enemies out of the game. Continuing to stack dragons, Darius is setting up a win condition for his team. You want to try and get to 3 dragons as fast as you can, which forces enemies to have to fight on the 4th one to deny the soul. I personally really hate that this is a thing in the game, and that Riot should probably adjust the power of the soul so that teams aren't forced to take a fight they know they're going to lose most of the time. But for now, if you're ahead, it's best to just take advantage of it, forcing these very winnable team fights. In team fights, Darius Jungle is a new champion. Instead of taking Flash, Ghost, and hoping to run into people, he can only take one of them, so he takes Flash, comboing it with GALEFORCE, and looking for picks. With a GALEFORCE E combo, he hooks an enemy into his team to set up a kill that lets them snowball the fight. Once Darius gets 1 kill, stacking his passive, and his team are a man up, they can then run through the enemy team with little outplay potential. Darius buys Deadman's Plate for extra tankiness and the movement speed, so getting picks like this aren't even risky. As long as he positions right, he'll always kill the enemy before he dies himself, so the play is very consistent, becoming more like a Blitzcrank than a bruiser, even using a combo where he flashes away while ulting to pick up a kill without being in any danger. The damage will still go through, but Darius avoids taking any risk by repositioning. Ideally, in these fights, you want to be reaching the enemy AD carry, having GALEFORCE to get onto them. If you get any of your slows off, including Smite, they can't run away, so it's an easy solo kill every time, and it's a good carry to kill. But Darius Jungle clearly doesn't like teamfights as much as he likes going for picks. Playing fully around his cooldown of GALEFORCE E, he camps bushes to wait for enemies to run into range. The later the game goes, the more tankiness he builds, so anytime he gets engaged on, he can tank it and escape. But his utility and damage is still enough to be a carry, so he just keeps doing this play over and over, getting picks to do barons, picks to get towers, and picks to end the game. But this playstyle is not perfect, there are some big problems with it even still. But before we talk about that, here is the very simple full build and runes. GALEFORCE is your item to rush, and after that, full tank is all you need to get, buying resistances dependent on the enemy team. Here are the items that he likes. For his runes, Conqueror is vital for the damage. Predator is great on Darius Jungle for ganking, but then you don't have enough sustain damage to kill people, so making sure you have these runes or the style will not work. He even made us a tier list for matchups in the jungle, and this is where you can start to see some of the weaknesses of the pick. Against low mobility junglers and tanks, Darius destroys them. It's an incredible counter pick that you literally should be learning right now, whatever elo you're in. But when he plays against the hyper mobile champions, especially ones that can dash over walls, Darius can't compete with them. Without having Ghost and Flash, long chases are not possible. So the counter to this strategy is picking a fast jungler that can gank while Darius is farming to get his GALEFORCE. Yes, his farming is stupidly fast, but his goal is basically to be 0-0-0 with 2 dragons and a good build. This pick isn't focused on getting kills, and in solo queue this style is super risky because kills are usually the deciding factor for a win or a loss. So other than the power you have at level 4 with double buffs, you're giving up early game in exchange for being a very strong mid and even late game champion thanks to the build. With his great catch combo and power in fights, this pick does deserve a good rating. I think it should join our trio of really good off-meta junglers with Sion and Mordekaiser. Darius is harder than both of these picks, and his ganks aren't always free kills like theirs are, but he is definitely better than a lot of the meta jungle picks, especially since his ult was recently buffed, even before this Darius hit Master. Zer0 has a YouTube channel where he's posting about Darius Jungle, so a link to that and our sponsor is in the description. Thanks so much for watching.